This is something that we haven't seen in quite a while, a new offering from Skoda and indeed the Volkswagen Group that isn't an SUV. The new Scala Hatchback takes over from the Rapid as Skoda's answer to the likes of the Volkswagen Golf, Ford Focus and Renault Megane, except this time we think it might actually have a chance of taking them on. It looks much better than the Rapid for a start, with new LED headlights, a sleeker silhouette, and it's also the first model to feature Skoda's new lettering across the back. One little disclaimer here though is that it can be quite spec sensitive, and this optional race blue metallic paint and 18-inch alloy wheels give this one a very sporty look that you don't quite get with the entry-level models. One thing you will get though is plenty of space. It is a Skoda after all, which means that you'll get more room inside than practically all of its main competitors, including in the boot, which can swallow a massive 467 litres. Now, to put that in context, that's almost 100 litres or about 25% bigger than what you'll find in a Golf or a Focus. And it's a nice usable size too, with barely any load lip, and like the Octavia, it's nice and deep, which makes it perfect for swallowing up pushchairs or golf clubs or whatever it is that you need to carry around with you. There's also a couple of those nice, simply clever Skoda touches in here too, like shopping bag hooks, a charging socket and a couple of storage compartments either side here to help stop smaller items from rattling around. One complaint I do have about the boot is that you can't drop the back seats from here. You have to come around here to do that. And when you do, they don't fold completely flat either, and you are left with quite a bit of a ridge here. So I just feel like that finish could have been done slightly better. Once you pop them back up, space in the back is truly impressive with tons of legroom. Headroom is pretty good too, and again, it just feels a lot more spacious back here than it does in lots of its rivals in the class. Now, middle seat passengers don't get quite so good a deal because this centre console does come back quite far, and you've also got this hump which will limit legroom. But for smaller kids, it should be fine, and you've also got two sets of Isofix anchors which are pretty easy to get to, and a pull-down centre armrest complete with cup holders. So, all in all, a pretty nice place to be. I'll continue on with practicality for a second before we talk about the interior, because it is particularly good with a nice bit of space here under the armrest. You've got some more space along the centre console, some nice wide door bins and an air-conditioned glove box. The new layout is really quite smart too. This top spec style model comes with this fancy rose gold trim which really helps to liven up the cabin. Other than that, it's got your typical reassuringly predictable Volkswagen Group feel, which means decent materials, a logical layout, and it all feels very well screwed together. Now, the big news for the Scala is this Infotainment System, which is the new third generation Volkswagen Group system, and it's actually the first car in the whole group to get it. Now, benefits of that include crisper graphics and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is a really cool feature that I've previously only seen on top spec BMWs. In terms of spec, the range currently starts with the usually mid-spec Ambition model. Now, there is apparently an entry-level active version on the way, but unless you want steel wheels and windy down windows in the back, I'd stick with the Ambition model at least, which for a starting price of about €24,000 will get you a nice set of 16-inch alloy wheels, parking sensors, cruise control, that wireless phone connectivity, and some fancy scrolling indicators at the back, so you might even get mistaken for an Audi driver at night. A €2,000 price walk will get you into this top spec style model, which upgrades those wheels to 17 inches, adds climate control, keyless go, a reversing camera, and this upgraded 8-inch colour touchscreen display, which I have to say looks pretty slick. There's also an extensive option list to ponder, with such luxurious features as a panoramic glass sunroof, full leather interior, electric seat adjustment and a fancy electric tailgate, all available at a cost of course, and we'd advise a little bit of caution there unless you want to end up with a price tag like this one of €35,000. Now, part of the reason for that is that this one happens to come with the particularly nice pairing of a 7-speed DSG automatic gearbox and the livelier 1.5 litre TSI petrol engine. Now there are a couple of more budget-friendly options available, like the super and surprisingly peppy little 1-litre turbo petrol, which is a great option for suburban drivers, and then of course a very good diesel option too in the 1.6-litre TDI for the more serious mile munchers out there. But surprisingly enough, that's it in terms of powertrain, and there's been no talk at all of any electric or hybrid or semi-electric versions whatsoever, which feels a little bit unusual for a brand new model, and if you were to believe the news lately, might even serve to limit its appeal a bit. Even more devastating than that though is that there are no plans for an RS model, which is very sad times, but we will instead be treated to a Monte Carlo version down the line. But anyway, I digress. Working with what I have, this 1.5-litre TSI is fast becoming one of my favourite engines within the VW group, with a decent power output of 150 PS and reasonable running costs, with a €200 tax bill and an average fuel economy of about 6.5 litres per 100 kilometres. In terms of handling, it's very, very pleasant to drive, but it does feel very familiar, especially if you've driven any of its Volkswagen Group siblings. But that's not a bad thing, it just means it's got that nice, solid, planted feel, with well-weighted steering, nicely judged suspension, and an overall good feeling of balance. Now there's not much to write home about in terms of engagement, and the likes of the Ford Focus and even the Kia Ceed definitely have the edge over it there, but at the same time there's very, very little to complain about either. I think what I've enjoyed the most about driving the Scala this week is its grandness. Now, grand in Ireland has a slightly different meaning than it does elsewhere, in that it kind of means the opposite of grand. It means all good, no complaints, I'm grand. And so is the Scala. It's a car for people who primarily want to get from A to B. And that's not me trying to find a nice way to call the car boring, because even if it's not groundbreaking, it does everything you want a hatchback to do to a slightly higher standard, with more space, more spec and more style than most of its rivals, at for the most part a lower price point too. What do you think of the Scala? Are fossil fueled powered hatchbacks over, or do Skoda have the right idea? Do let us know what you think in the comment section below. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, even if you don't like the car, and don't forget to hit subscribe if you'd like to see new videos like this one every Wednesday.